everyone. Thanks for the invitation. This is a very, very engaging audience and a very friendly environment. So I'm very honored to present here. And why Taiwan is really the question that I was asked for the first 2-3 years I spent in Chinese Taipei in Taiwan. This question doesn't come up so much anymore because from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, in really less than 4 years, Taiwan has moved on the map. And here's a little clicker. This is in 2012 when things were really in its infancy still, and in its infancy in terms of Internet 2.0, when we talk about startups in today's world, not the hardware movement that was in Taiwan. But a little look back at Asia overall, 97% of enterprises are actually SMEs, small, medium enterprises, or micro SMEs, as they're also being called nowadays. So Taiwan is, of course, on the map there as well. And this is the map. I've presented this for years of the bubble. The bigger the bubble, the more intense and the more powerful is the ecosystem. And of course, you can see Silicon Valley and Israel being featured with big bubbles. And again, this is a few years old. Taiwan has moved forward and upward. In this talk, I really don't want to look at numbers as much as I want to look at some of the elements that lead to this incredible fast growth in Taiwan in terms of awareness of startups. When I moved there, if you wanted to hire as a startup entrepreneur, a young people to join your team, you actually had to create a flyer and bring it to the parents. And you were interviewed by the parents. And that is not just in Taiwan, by the way. That happens throughout Asia. And when I now walk down the streets in Taiwan and I mention the word startup, the English word startup, the regular, normal, ordinary citizen actually knows what that word means. And we work a lot with the government in Taiwan, the SME. And they have even put the word startup in their incubation division in English. And that's the same for MIT in China. When we work with the China government, I also hear them now embrace the word startup. So there's a lot of changes. But some of the elements that make up and that lead to an ecosystem is an investment in human capital. So when you ask, why am I representing Taiwan? I've done that at many APEC conferences, and I always get the question, why is this German with a US passport representing Taiwan? I think diversity is key for in the history that we were presented earlier of Silicon Valley showed it. And when you look at, when I moved to San Francisco 20 years ago, 80% of the startups were founded by Indians. That number has gone down. It's now more people from other countries as well. But it's really important to enable policies, and Taiwan has a startup visa, for instance, now. 3,000 visas a year can be granted for entrepreneurs that want to enter the country. And then, of course, density, create clusters, and funding, and tax breaks, and the regulatory environments. But so now really to look at Taiwan and where Taiwan is being challenged. And why did I end up in Taiwan, by the way? Why did I pick up Taiwan? When I left the US in 2010, after a journey for a year around the world, to leave, I worked at Google, I worked at AT&T, and I wanted to become more entrepreneurial. And I literally spent a year traveling, and I got stuck in a good way in Taiwan because I noticed there were 23 million people, and they have such a powerful hardware background. And the average salary, even until today, is about $700 when you graduate from school. So I figured there is an opportunity for young people to show them a path to just a better life by becoming entrepreneurial. And so we brought Startup Weekend and Mobile Monday and a lot of international events and, of course, capital to Taiwan. But you really still today, until today, have the challenge of these old incumbents, TSMC, that's still doing very well, and Acer, at one point the largest hardware manufacturer in the PC industry in the world, like facing the new entrants the last couple of years, like the Facebook and Googles. And how is Taiwan actually dealing with it? And what led to this quick growth in awareness and startup penetration is deregulation from the government. The government plays quite a big role how this really moved from 0 to 100. And then, of course, capital. When I travel about 80% of my time, mainly in Asia, and almost everywhere I go, entrepreneurs always say we don't have enough access to capital. And I usually push back. In the days of the internet and AngelList, if the entrepreneur has a viable business plan and some early traction, money will find them. So money is actually not the problem. The problem for a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of startups globally is business development and the understanding on the importance of how do you reach customers and how do you build a product that is needed by the market. The cluster building in Taiwan, we look at that in a few future slides as well, has led to it tons of events and media coverage. To get mainstream media involved and engaged helps to build public awareness and make it okay to be an entrepreneur and willing to take risk. So this is the government slide, actually. When I, in preparation for this talk, emailed the government and said, what would you like to include? This is the wording, start, scale, and soar that they have used. And this is a wholesome overview of where Taiwan stands today in the year 2015. What really every ecosystem should not try to do is copy Silicon Valley. Because, again, in the talk earlier, we saw it's very difficult to replicate Silicon Valley. But the different ecosystems have different opportunities to find their own strength. And in Taiwan, it was it just dawned on me. In 2012, we ran a startup weekend in Tainan. And we had a press conference with the mayor. And then afterwards, after startup weekend was finished, the mayor's office contacted me and said, can you make an introduction to the mayor of Berlin? And I said, why? And they said, we want to copy Berlin. And I go like, why do you want to copy Berlin and Tainan? And then I started thinking, like, what does Taiwan really have? And that's the hardware background. And then we ran a startup weekend hardware. And that was probably very early on in 2012. And there were no VCs. And we, including us, we were investing in software companies. But today you have a very vibrant maker and startup environment that's driven by hardware. Just like in Shenzhen, there's actually some competition between the two ecosystems going on. But that is definitely where Taiwan is finding some of its strength. However, one of the biggest recent successes is the company up here, which is a mobile advertising investment from Sequoia. And I also recall when I moved to Taiwan, we were trying to bring Sequoia and other celebrities over, Dave McClure from 500 Startups, and they were very reluctant in the beginning, and then all of a sudden they all started coming. Peter Thiel was there, Jack Ma was there, and so it's been amazing how all of a sudden the world is realizing that there's so much talent. Because what also do you have to? I spent quite a bit of time in Thailand as well, but there are real big differences between like those two ecosystems. Because in order to build technology startups, you have to have a base. And the base that you need is actually education and an awareness of technology and an embracing of technology. And that is something that Taiwan had and has. It just didn't have the willingness of taking risk. So that is definitely one of the reasons why it's a little hidden gem in the Pacific at a very low cost and very, very low salary, where companies like from Hong Kong could outsource their technical development, because here in Hong Kong it's a challenge for co-founders to actually hire tech talent. Taiwan has plenty of techies. But so here again you see the different logos from the different players in the ecosystem. And this is just a summary of some of the startups. This, I believe, really raised the profile of Taiwan. And this is the government, the National Development Program, making $100 million available 2 years ago or so. And up to 40% of the fund size they would actually contribute. And it was not a requirement just to invest in Taiwan startups. And we got approached from a few investors from Silicon Valley. They knew that we are also in Taiwan. They wanted to approach the government and get in on the action. So this is how Taiwan really got global awareness, because the government was putting a lot of money behind the efforts there, and with a very, very aggressive profit-sharing scheme of providing 80% to the GPs or other LPs. And this is a summary of the IPO, some numbers here, companies that have gone IPO in Taiwan. There are about 4,000 startups, but really hot startups like Silicon Valley type of startups is less than 50, certainly less than 50 in Taiwan right now. And then there is about 8,000 incubated companies that are arising, and 130 incubators. There's over 100 universities in Taiwan. An island of 23 million people has so many universities. This is an accelerator project that's run by the government, and here's another one, another STAP Focus program. The clusters, we talked about that earlier, very important. Hsinchu is like the heart globally of hardware. This is where all the semiconductors originate from, and the hardware. And so there's a very powerful science park. There is ITRI, which is like the Fraunhofer Institute in Germany. They're creating a lot of IP and inventions. This is a very, very interesting place to source talent. In a very small area, about 45 minutes by high-speed train or 40 minutes by high-speed train from Taipei. And then I mentioned events, and together with the government and APEC, we actually built the APEC Accelerator, which just ran 2 weeks ago, and Intel and Siemens came in on it. And the idea there is to bring startups from all over APEC to Taiwan annually. Select them and then connect them with corporations, help them with fundraising. And what has grown out of this is actually a network that's spanning around the world of incubation centers that are connected. You see Golden Gate from Singapore and all the way down to Chile. That helps entrepreneurs to overcome that challenge that Israeli startups have. The country is too small. In order to commercialize, you cannot just stay home. You have to get beyond the borders, which is so easy to say, but really difficult for teams to execute on. This is the APEC Accelerator program that just ran, and I am actually keeping this a short 20 minutes. One more thing, this is really more relevant to what's coming. The ASEAN economic community that's just about to launch. The European Union is so aggressive with their Horizons program in injecting risk capital in ideas even, all the way to later stage startup. What can ASEAN do? I know every economy, and I deal with a lot of the governments, every economy in ASEAN is trying to become the hub of innovation. It would be nicer if the different governments would actually say, we're going to become the hub of media innovation, and we're becoming the hub of IoT innovation, instead of everybody's trying to become the hub of everything. So ASEAN has an opportunity there, and I just want to put that word out here in the audience as well. To see what this group can accomplish together to help startups. So I want to thank you, and I look forward to some of your questions. And that is my short insight on Taiwan.